the old town, the heart of Baku beating in the stone. Its history is very old. There are several versions of the name Baku. Budkube, a city exposed to all winds. Atashi Begavan, a depository of sacred fire. But the most ancient source mentioning the name Baku is the Book of the Dead of the ancient Egyptian mythology of the 3rd millennium BC. Bak means the sun, like in many other languages including the ancient Turkic language, and Yan means a place, height. So, it means the height of the sunrise. The oldest structure of the old town is the Maiden's Tower. There is not a similar construction in the world filled with mysteries that haven't been revealed so far. Nobody really knows when and with what purposes the Maiden's Tower was built. There are a lot of versions. The most probable of them is the building of the Maiden's Tower as a temple in the 8th century BC, in the most eastern and top point of the ancient Caucasia on the shore of the Caspian Sea. The windows of the tower open on the east, where the sun rises. 2 of them are connected with the 2 notable dates. It is known that in winter, days grow shorter and nights longer. It goes on up to December the 22nd, when the sun dies. Then, the sun begins to revive and days grow longer again. So, one of these notable days is connected with the rebirth of the sun. The sun begins to change its trajectory, and on the 20th of March, day equals night. It means spring comes and nature revives. Since ancient times, there have been underground gases burning on this land. In the ancient Egyptian mythology, this land was called the Land of Fires or the Island of Fire. Our ancestors considered the fire to be a reflection of the sun, and the Maiden's Tower was a temple of the divine sun and fire. If you look down from above at this structure, it will resemble Buddha, a symbol of the Creator that united the sky and the earth, yin and yang. In the Middle Ages, the Maiden's Tower was converted into a defensive structure as an integral part of the town's fortress. And apart from its secrets, it's been keeping a good watch over the town and its citizens ever since. The Maiden's Tower is the most mysterious stone book. We seem not to have read it to the end. It's the subject of many legends. But this majestic structure still stands intact, not wishing to break its silence. In this town, each stone and structure has its own history. The walls of the fortress are the internal guards of the old town. These walls hold in remembrance, heroism, and the courage of our great-grandfathers. The walls were erected in the 12th century under the reign of Shirvanshah Manuchahra III in 1120-1148. It is confirmed by the Shah's decree written in the stone book. The walls surrounding the whole town used to be double, the outward walls and the inner ones. It had an important defensive disposition. There was a deep ditch dug between the two walls. If the enemy happened to pass the outward walls, he was sure to fall into the ditch and be imprisoned. These magnificent fortress walls are architectural masterpieces of our ancestors. The town and its population had been growing rapidly, and in 1880 the outward wall was demolished. The way out went through 5 gates. At sunrise, the gates opened for the citizens, merchants, and at sunset they closed. The oldest of these gates are Shamaha gates, built in the 12th century. Today they are called Goshagala, pair gates. There is a bas-relief of heads of 3 animals on the gates, 1 bull's head and the heads of 2 lions. It's the coat of arms of Shirvanshahs. The bull symbolizes the power and cunning, and the lions keep watch day and night. But they say the history of these symbols is far older. These stoneways contain the traces of our history. At those times, the caravans of the Great Silk Way went through the Baku port. Baku was a crossroad of different cultures. Going through Baku, the Great Silk Way favored the development of not only the trade, but culture and customs as well. Only 4 caravanserai of the old town reached our days. 2 of them are well known. Multani caravanserai built by the Indian merchants in the 14th century and Bakharas caravanserai of the 15th century. The merchants used to live here, keep their goods and sell them at Market Square. Market Square. That's how this sacred place is called now, the city. Who knows how many more undiscovered layers and undisclosed mysteries this town has. The curved and narrow streets of the old town, its balconies, as if hanging down from the sky in the midnight sun. The people who used to live here from time immemorial also lived, rejoiced and grieved like we do. One can feel the presence of lovers whispering on these stones. And if you looked round, you would see a familiar face or hear a familiar voice. History came to a standstill at the turn of these streets. There is one more peculiarity about these streets. When going up, they become narrower, and some of them end in blind alleys. Should the enemy penetrate into the town, he is sure to go astray in this labyrinth and be entrapped. The town was built with residential quarters. Each quarter had its own bathhouse and a mosque, and there was a centralized water supply system. In this city, even today one can observe the vestiges of almost all the religions. The centuries-old monument of idolatry, a temple of the fire worshippers, mosques, churches. As it was mentioned before, each quarter has its own mosque, but it's naturally that in the course of time, many of these monuments were destroyed and didn't reach our time. The oldest mosque of the old town is Muhammad Mosque, built in 1078. Its other name is Sinigala, a broken castle. As to the name, the story goes as follows. In 1723, Russian forces assaulted the town from the sea. The shells destroyed part of the minaret of the mosque. The people let it be as it was, as a sad reminder, and didn't restore it. They called it Sinigala. One of the monuments that managed to maintain its primordial look and beauty is the Mosque of the Shirvanshah Palace. The Palace of Shah of Shirvan is the main monument of the old town. The palace was built by Shirvanshah Khalilullah I in 1435-1442. This complex includes the Shah's residence, the court, the mosque, and a family graveyard, where 6 members of the Shah's family had been buried. There's also the mausoleum of the great philosopher and sophistic poet Seyyid Yahya Bakui. The stone books and the remains of the ancient Bailov castle are also in the Shirvanshah's palace. Even today, the palace amazes the visitors by its greatness and the architectural masterpiece of the 15th century. The old town is the echo of the centuries-old history. What you have seen and heard is just the lines from the thick stone books. It is still writing its history, but in a new way. To read the stone legends and tales of this amazing town, you must see and take a liking to it. The old town is our history, without which we can't have our future.